to Fast Family. Welcome back to Project Potter, guys. My name is Kyle, your host. We are doing Fast and Furious 6 today. If you guys haven't seen the show before, welcome. Recap, which is a quarter minute at a time. We're doing a 10-second car, which is our favorite actor or actress for the movie. They Never Had Me, which is my least favorite. Score out of 10, and then the rankings, of course. So, because as we find out in this movie, guys, you never turn your back on family. We pick up in the Canary Islands in Spain, the race. Brian and Dom were like, oh, you want to race? And he's like, oh, you got it, Toretto. And I'm like, ah, just kidding. This is actually just Brian and Dom showing up to Brian's baby being born by a bunch of nuns. Dom tells him, Brian, once you go through that door, everything changes. He goes, our old life is over. And I'm like, does anyone actually believe that, dude? There's an amazing opening montage with all of the best scenes from the first 5 films, dude. All of the crazy scenes. It's awesome. Really, really good. So shout out to them for doing that. They show up in Russia and there's an attack. Guys were in and out. There was a heist that took down a convoy. 90 seconds in and out. There's cars blown up. Nieves is like, how did that car get over there? And it's the car like into the side of a building. She's like, how did it get up there? And they're like, who fucking knows, dude? Hobbs goes, there's only one crew who could do this. And we're like, Toretto's crew, probably. And I guess he's looking for Owen Shaw. And we're like, who the hell is Owen Shaw? Hello, WWE match. Because The Rock just starts fucking throwing him, dude. He's breaking tiles and Gina Carano's looking on there. The guy's like, is that legal? And Gina says, oh, but are you going to go in there and tell him? And I'm like, no, you're not, because The Rock is going to fuck you up, dude. Hobbs shows up at Vin's place. Hobbs shows him the picture of Letty. This is awesome. She tells Dom, like, you know, if that was my husband, I would go in a second. Dom, I need your help. I need your team. And it's like, oh, we got a montage again. And I'm like, we just did this in Fast 5. So this was always cool to see the characters get back together. But we just had that big meetup in Fast 5 and it was awesome. So now we're doing it again. And I'm like, kind of Fast and Furious retreading their old ideas once again. We saw it in Fast 4 for Too Fast. But Brian, you know, we have a newborn baby, but it's totally cool if you want to go risk your life, go cross country to save a girl who may or may not be dead. So Mia's like, go bring home Letty, and Brian and Dom were like, remember we said we left that life behind? And they're like, we did say that, but they're like, fuck it, let's go. And I'm like, okay, let's do it, dude. The crew gets together again. Hobbs tells them, you know, Shaw's the guy they're after. They're putting together a tech bomb, or like an EMP basically, that could lead to the loss of millions of lives to the right buyer. And he talks about how like one little like EMP to a car will shut down a car, but this will shut down like cities or whatever. It's all like kind of confusing, but really cool technical stuff. Like this could do damage in the real world. Like this could fuck up electronics worldwide and obviously lead to like lack of police showing up and people dying and shooting and all that stuff. So he's basically like, this is very dangerous in the right hands, like he says. The Rock is like, okay, let's get this guy. And then he says, you son of a bitch. And I'm like, that's his line, dude. So Shaw takes off in this fucking dope car, dude. It's like fucking Batman meets Speed Racer. It's so cool. He's got like a little, like a ramp or whatever on the front of his car. We find out why in a bit. And it's like armored and it looks like a race car. It's really, really awesome. Like, it's like easily the coolest car in the Fast and Furious so far. There's a cool tunnel chase scene where they go by the night bus from Harry Potter, of course. They're in London. Letty shows up in the flesh. I'm like, oh shit, Letty definitely is alive. And then Dom shows up and he's like, Letty. And Letty shoots him right in the arm and it like fucking throws him back in the car. She gets in the car and she runs away and we're like, oh. Letty says, hey, I think his name is Klaus. And she's like, hey, Klaus. She's like, aren't you Team Muscle? And she goes, don't make me go over there and make you Team Pussy. And I was like, Jesus, dude. So I was like, yo, I need personal info. He's like, we need to find their weaknesses and we will exploit them. And I'm like, damn. Not enough for him in this movie. And it doesn't hit like Fast 5 hit, where it was like genuinely funny and great and the quips were good. This one, it feels like they had like leftover jokes from 5 and they were like, oh, we can use these for this one. And it's like, can we though? Or did those jokes get cut for a reason? Hobbs in this movie, The Rock's character, way better than he was in Fast 5. Fast 5, he was like a prick, and I think they realized that and people didn't like how aggressive he was, so he tones it back a little bit, and he's still that character, but he's much, much more helpful and much better. So I think now that he like has seen what Toretto's crew can do, he like understands that he needs them, and he's also just like, oh, you know, I can see the appeal here. So The Rock is way better in this movie. Those people and Letty pull up to where Rohan, Giselle, and Gina Carano are, and we get a large shootout. Like lots of bullets, lots of guns, dude. The gun dealer gets shot. Giselle says, you know, we'll make Shaw pay for this. She's like, just tell me where he is. And the guy whispers Braga. And I'm like, oh, this is our first little twist. Braga was the guy from Fast 4, or Fast and Furious, as the movie's called. there's like a huge segment where they're just fist fighting, and I'm like, this is not called The Fist and the Furious, dude. Okay? If it was, then this would be Fist and Furious 6. Those hands might be going quick, but where are the cars, baby? Letty, he's like, remember when I found you in the hospital and you didn't remember anything? And we're like, so this is why Letty shot Dom. She doesn't remember anything. Her mind was wiped basically from the crash that we thought killed her. We get more details about that later, but he says he grew fond of her, and he's like, if something happens to you, I'll be sad. And I was like, bullshit, dude. I was like, or if you do like Letty, you're being real creepy about it. So he shoots the car, it blows up, Letty fucking goes down the hill. And then we find out 2 days later, that's when Shaw came to the hospital to finish the job. She has no memory at all. And he's like, oh, sweet. He's like, why would I kill her then? Where is Shaw? I'm like, what's his next move? And Braga tells him, you know, the only way you get close to Shaw is if he wants you to get close to him. And I'm like, ooh, that's a good line, dude. There's a girl that's like, this is London, baby. Tom says, ride or die, remember? And Letty's like, you know, I don't fucking remember, Tom, obviously. Like, I got fucking no memory. What do you think? So they drift through the square because Tokyo Drift started the revolution, baby, and there's drifting in every Fast movie now, and I fucking love it. The cops start chasing them, and Dom has a great line where he says, just like old times. And I'm like, yeah, Dom. He's driving backwards towards Letty, and I'm like, Brian O'Connor School of Driving, baby. And then Letty has a really cute line where she says, this guy's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, dude, crazy in love with you. I was like, this is the last night we were together in the Dominican Republic. He's like, we went night swimming, you cut yourself on the reef. He's like, I even got the scar to match. And I'm like, oh, dude, so cute. Look at his caller ID, he says Samoan Thor. And I'm like, 100%, dude. Fucking tank explodes out from it. A tank. It's crazy. It looks absolutely ridiculous, dude. They literally have a tank within like a fucking 18-wheeler sort of armored vehicle. And then just like fucking the truck hits like a tripwire and it like starts going over. And the fucking tank just goes, yup. They're like, oh, we need a plan B. And Luda says, plan B? He goes, we need a plan C, D, E. He's like, we need more alphabets. And a tank on my ass. The most ridiculous scene in the entire franchise, dude. Tom is literally like standing outside of his car, driving with one hand, but like literally like standing. I don't know how his car is still accelerating. And he does it so that he fucking crashes into the barrier between the two highways. And it fucking vaults him over there. And then the anchor Mustang like goes and gets stuck on like the underneath the bridge or whatever, and so it forces the tank to go up, so it lurches Letty forward, and then Dom is going forward, and they fucking beat up perfectly, dude. And he literally catches her in air, spins, and then he fucking shields her and lands on the roof of this car, like on the windshield. It's a cool sentiment, but Dom saves Letty's life in just the most ridiculous way, dude. He literally like fucking jumps like 10 feet horizontally through. It's fucking crazy. But I told you, Toretto, what would happen if you don't walk away. And he's like, that I could find your weakness and hurt you at any point. I'm like, oh, this is fucked up, dude. Montage of like his men showing up at Mia's house and fucking breaking in and taking Mia hostage. And he's like, why don't you go ahead and call Mia? And Dom gives him like a fucking look. And then Brian gives him like a look like, oh, motherfucker, you don't want to go there. Shaw's like, you know what? You're going to give me the chip. And he's like, you're going to let me walk away and you're not going to follow. Hostage does not outweigh the lives of millions. And I was like, that's a great point. This changes nothing. But then Hobbs holds a gun to his face and he says, this changes everything. And I'm like, does it though? Does it change everything? Hobbs says, Toretto, I need you to know the moment that we let him walk out that door, he's like, words like amnesty and pardon walk out with him. Those words went out the day we were born. So Shaw goes to leave and he's like, coming, babe? And he looks and the camera pans to Letty and everyone's looking at Letty and they're like, oh no, is Letty gonna fucking flip back? And then we get a fucking nice twist where Gina Carano says, of course, wouldn't miss it for the world. And The Rock's looking at her like, what the fuck? And I'm like, right there with you, Dwayne. Cobb said, don't ever let them get in the cars. Well, they got in the fucking cars. Save Letty, now they're gonna go save Mia. Dom's got a shot at Bugatti. Brian gives Shaw a flying throat punch in the fucking cargo plane, dude. He almost gets smashed by a pipe before Dom headbutts fucking Shaw's Hobbs into a box, which is like Shaw's version of Hobbs, which is just like this big muscle guy, team muscle, not team pussy. And Han and Giselle are trying to take out the wing. One thing I didn't mention earlier, they said they're going to settle down to go to Tokyo, and I was like, oh no, Giselle. Because we know, it's so sad because we know that Han is in Tokyo, but we don't see Giselle in Tokyo, and it's like, no. Buddha and Rome, and Han and Giselle, and they're like on both sides, and Mia and Brian are like in the front there. and they're literally shooting harpoon guns into the wings, so it's like it's trying to take off, but the cars are just dangling, and they're like, oh shit. And Rome is like, or Luda's like, yo, to Rome, he's like, did you shoot the wing? And he's like, yo, you want to buckle up. There's a scene where Han and Giselle are like kind of hanging on, and Giselle's like kind of falling off, and Han's like, don't worry, I got you. And then there's a guy behind him, and he's about to shoot Han. Dude, it's so sad, but fucking Giselle sees that, and she intentionally lets go of Han's hand. She goes back, and she takes her gun out, and she fucking shoots this motherfucker in, like, thought she was gonna kill him, but she just shoots him a few times, and Han is like, no, and Giselle fucking fades away, dude, the most badass way to go out. But I was like, wow, this is so sad, because she literally sacrifices her own life to save Han's life. And then Han goes over and she shoots this guy, but then the guy was still moving. I thought she would just like headshot him or whatever, but Han like looks around, he's like, oh shit, and then he realizes that she saved his life, and he starts beating the fuck out of this guy, and then he throws him into the fucking engine, which I'm like, good for you, Han, but it doesn't make up for her death. But he fucking throws him right into the engine. I was like, god damn, dude. Eventually they get one of the engines to come down and then like explode on the ground, and this causes like a chain reaction. It looks really cool, but Dom is still in the plane, dude, and we're like, oh no. And then we're like, Dom's not gonna make it, and so the plane fucking is like still going pretty fast, but the whole thing is like this inferno now. And then we see Dom's car fucking drive out of the cockpit, and I'm like, of course, dude, it looks so crazy. But Dom lands and he can't really control it, and he fucking flips like 20 times, and we're like, oh shit, it looks like he's like fucked up. And we're like, no, and the plane like fucking explodes, and then it's just like a burning mess, and everyone is kind of standing there, and they're like all worried, and then Dom emerges like a fucking Avenger from the flames, dude. Oh, you think this motherfucker's dead? Nah, bro, Dom just fucking comes out of the fire like he was born in it. And yeah, he's fucking awesome. And there's such a sad scene where they're looking around and they go, where's Giselle? Where's Giselle? And Han fucking breaks down crying, dude, and I wanted to fucking break down crying because Han is so sad. I'm like, man, dude, that's so fucked. And it's to see their arc go up and just to see her fucking sacrifice to save his life, it's so sad. It shows how much she really loved him, and oh, it's like bumming me out, man. Barbecue time, baby, everything is great, but god damn it, Han is so sad, and I'm fucking so sad for him. He's drinking a Corona, but he just looks like fucking, he's fucked up, and I'm like, oh, so am I, dude. He's like, I just gotta go to Tokyo. He's like, it's something I gotta do, and I'm like, fuck, I'm so sad for Han. Like, oh, like it bummed me out for the rest of the movie, dude. Poor Dom is like, yo, make sure that first car that kid builds is a Charger, and Brian's like, you mean a Skyline, right? And he's like, yo, you're confusing the kid. And Dom's like, I told you he was a Toretto too. And he goes up and she goes to Nieves, and hey, I just want to thank you for like everything you've done. And there's a funny line where Luda and Rome are like, oh, this is gonna be awkward, but they're like together, they're like, but it's gonna be sexy as hell. And I'm like, they're not gonna make out, dude. Why did Giselle have to die, dude? Everything's so happy and everyone's fucking kissing and shit, and then Han is sitting there just like, fuck my life, man. I just lost the love of my life, and we're sitting here at a barbecue, and Giselle should be there. I'm like, fuck. Rome says, and thank you most of all for fast cars. And we get Luda's fucking Rest of My Life, dude, and it fucking slaps, dude. I listen to this song on Spotify all the time. It's so dope. We get the credits, and then we get a post-credit scene where we cut to Tokyo, and dude, as if they hadn't fucking stabbed me in the Han hard enough. This is like kind of a fucked up scene where it shows a car driving, and we know this is the car that fucking hits Han, but this is from this car's perspective. So it like shows this car driving, listening to the police radio, whatever, finding out where the chase is going, and they start driving. We don't know who's driving this car, and then we see like Lucas Black's character drifting, and then we see Han drifting, and the police are chasing him, and then it's like this car's going over, and like Han's car's on the other street, and we're like, no, and they're getting closer and closer, and I'm like, yo, this is not cool, man. And it shows them go into the car and fucking kill Han's car, blow up. But fucking Jason Statham, dude, before Han's car blows up, he takes Letty's chain, so we know that fucking Owen Shaw had that chain. Obviously Owen Shaw's dead. Spoilers, this is Deckard Shaw, this is his brother. This is like a big reveal for him, and it's fucking Jason Statham, dude. And he fucking throws his chain on Han, which was kind of weird, but also just to fucking send a message. And he calls Dom and he says, Dominic Toretto, he says, you don't know me, but you're about to. And that is how the fucking movie ends. So real quick, guys, I just want to say, you kill off the love of Han's life, okay? And then you make Han really sad, and then you show me him dying again in the same fucking movie. Come on, Fast and Furious, you took a fucking sword into my heart, and then you took it out, and you just poured salt into it. And I don't think that makes sense, but it fucking hurt, and fuck you, Fast and Furious. Anyway, guys, this is our 10-second car award, which is my favorite character. Guys, I don't know why I keep picking villains, but Owen Shaw gets my 10-second car for this one. He was fucking awesome. Keeps his crew in check. I didn't really care about his crew, but he keeps them in check. You know, he's telling them, like, when they're like, oh, these guys are just common criminals, he's like, yo, give them the fucking respect they deserve. He's like, that makes us weaker, and he's like, they need respect. And I'm like, he understands, like, he doesn't want to lose, and he's always, like, one step ahead. He's the coolest fucking car in the series, dude, and he's going around, he pulls a hostage move to gain his freedom. He was just terrifying, smart, cunning. He was a little crazy with the tank thing, but just an awesome villain, dude, and I think Luke Evans did a great job of bringing that character to life. So he's going to get my 10-second car, Luke Evans, because he gets my my 10-second car for this week. Okay, guys, they never had me this week. Everyone in Shaw's crew, everyone else besides Shaw and Letty, dude. Never got background information on them, really, besides that one funny scene with Rome, but, like, then we didn't get, where we had, like, the chameleon in Fast 5 and, like, all these different montages and quick scenes. We didn't get any of that with their crew. So I didn't know any of their names. I didn't know any of their fucking backgrounds. Shaw was awesome and the Letty factor was cool, but I was hoping the rest of his crew was going to be good. The doppelganger cliche in movies is so overused, but, like, when Rome was like, yo, these are, like, our doppelgangers, I wanted, like, Rome talking shit to his other... I wanted, like, the one-on-one matchups where it's, like, you know, I wanted Hobbs and this big dude fighting off the muscular guy. I wanted Letty and Gina, which they did fight, but it didn't even feel like that was kind of a rivalry thing. I wanted Rome and then his smart talking guy there. I wanted Han and the other guy, and we got glimpses of that, but it just wasn't great. I didn't really care for any of them, and someone died, I didn't even know who their name was, so I'm just like, yeah, I gotta say, guys, the rest of Shaw's crew, they never had me. Okay, guys, this brings us to the score. For this one, guys, this is an 8.1 for me. Shaw's an awesome villain. The stakes were relatively high with, like, the millions of lives at stake there, the EMP, basically. Letty being back was fun, and her being on the other side, and her not having her memory, that was really cool. The Gina twist was really cool with Gina Carano. Giselle's huge death, that's a fucking huge death that happened. I wish it didn't, but... And finding out how Han died at the end with that post-credit scene in Tokyo is crazy, and it's like, oh, they're, like, going back and tying it in, and now it makes Tokyo Drift even crazier because you think about that. Dom saving them from the tank was a bit too much, or Dom saving Letty from the tank. Bit too outrageous for my taste, so it loses points for that. It also didn't go back to the supercar, really, or what was the point of the supercar. It was really cool, but then there wasn't, like, it didn't play into a bigger thing, really. It was just kind of like a cool, like, neat trick, I guess. I'm not really sure why Hobbs was in this movie at all, to be honest. It didn't really seem like he needed to be involved other than just to pardon him, but, like, considering he was just a big part in Fast 5, his character was better in this one, but I was just like, I don't really know why The Rock is in this movie. Fast 5 was, like, a blast from start to finish, but this one just felt like it was trying to copy that vibe, and it just never really hit it, and the comedy fell short, and the action wasn't as good, and there weren't the crazy set pieces like when they fucking pulled the vault through the city, and it's like, considering this is the next one, they're not all going to be 10 out of 10s, but, like, you gotta try and follow up that with something close, and I don't know, it's crazy, but not my favorite one, but an 8.1 I think is a fair score. Guys, that brings us to the rankings. This one, guys, is going to slot in based on the score, of course, and just my overall rewatchability and all that, and how much I enjoyed it. This one slots in number 4 for me. So the rankings are going to be Fast 5 at number 1 with a score of 9.8. Tokyo Drift at number 2 with a score of 8.6. Too Fast, Too Furious at number 3 with a score of 8.2. Just below that is number 4, Fast and Furious 6 with an 8.1. Number 5 is Fast and Furious, which is 7.9, which is Fast 4, which doesn't make any sense why they didn't put a number in that title, but it's okay. And then number 6, guys, the original, the Fast and the Furious with a 7.8. Just looking at this, I'm like, Fast 5 is, like, fucking almost perfect in my head. I knew we were going to beat that. But I was like, Tokyo Drift, I think, was a better watch than this, and Too Fast, Too Furious was more fun than this, and so I'm like, I think this is better than Fast 4, because I didn't love Fast 4. Although we did have, like, things like the tunnel scene, so even think about that, I'm like, I don't know, we didn't really have our tunnel scene in this movie. We didn't have, like, the Phoenix character going against Dom. It goes above Fast 4 for me, or Fast and Furious, but those really could interchange, but Both those movies are kind of meh for me. So really, it's Fast 5, Tokyo Drift, Too Fast are like my 3 movies that I could rewatch probably anytime. And then this one is kind of like in those other 3 where it's like, it's kind of just in there. But those are how the rankings shape out, 6 movies in. Okay, guys, that's another episode of Fast Family. So thanks again, guys, for checking out. I don't have friends, I have family. Never turn your back on family. Salute me, familia. You already know, guys. We're getting the fucking quotes left and right here. Thanks for checking out Project Potter. 6 movies down, guys. So we have 4 more to go. So we got Fast 7, we got Fast 8, Hobbs and Shaw, and Fast 9. So I'm looking forward to it, guys. Like I said, I haven't seen the later movies more than once, probably. So thanks for checking out the channel. Thanks for checking out Project Potter. Like, comment, subscribe, guys. And until next time, you never turn your back on family.